VDOT is the third largest agency as far as the number of road miles that it operates. We have a little over 3,000 traffic signals that we operate and maintain from VDOT.
Charlottesville is very much a college town and very much not a college town. It has a long history, and so that plays out quite a lot.
Well, it's a growing community, population approaching 80,000. We are an independent city in the state of Virginia.
And we have a lot of commuters that commute to Winchester and outside of Winchester to Washington, D.C.
They're going to experience varying levels of congestion as time goes on and traffic increases.
Understanding that we have a growing population, trying to provide the best mix of transportation we can in the area.
I think one of the things that defines Winchester is it's unique. We have a lot of historic buildings.
Most all of our corridors in Virginia are running time of day plans, so they're based off historical traffic data.
Our biggest challenges right now are pedestrian. Almost every single intersection has pedestrian signals.
Because it's an old city, all of our right-of-ways are very narrow, and most of the building envelopes, especially in the downtown, are built right up on the right-of-way, so we don't even have the option of expanding at all, so getting those facilities in is difficult.
Part of that depends upon whether you have to buy right-of-way. In a lot of lane widenings, you do have to buy right-of-way, and that can get very expensive, and are you going to displace businesses, et cetera, when you widen. But I think you can expect to pay $10 million a mile for adding one lane, at least. Now, we're looking at a widening project on Route 29 north that I think is a couple of miles long, and it's projected to cost $30 million.
We also have two, one college and one university, one on one side of the road and one on the other side of the road. And they're changing class patterns and traffic patterns, make timing, traditional traffic timing, counting traffic, just not even a possibility.
We do have some peak areas and some times where traffic volumes really increase, and we have a lot of summertime traffic patterns change because we do have a lot of visitors visiting Winchester.
So I'm very much in favor of looking at ways to improve traffic flow and deal with capacity issues that don't involve laying new pavement.
Rhythm offers us the solution of creating an independent corridor with communications and coordination, all by itself without setting up that huge traffic operations centers.
So in our case, the evaluation corridors that we selected were primarily running time of day based plans. The corridors that were selected were picked by the VDOT field offices as well as our central office.
A friend of mine was working in VDOT central office, and I called him and asked him if VDOT had heard of it. And he told me that VDOT had entered into a experimental agreement with Rhythm for roughly 100 intersections in the state, and they were looking at trial corridors. So, and he told me who the project manager was, so I got in touch with Mike Clemens with VDOT.
I'm Michael Clements. I am the Traffic Signal and Arterial Systems Program Manager at the Virginia Department of Transportation. We do policy, planning work. We do specifications and hardware. We usually look at the new technology and help the field implement that, which is one of the reasons that InSync has come through the central office facility is we take a look at it first and then help our regional partners implement it.
Yeah, I was approached first by VDOT saying that one of my intersections, they would like to include one of my intersections in one of their corridors. And I looked into it, and what attracted me most was that it was real-time coordination.
VDOT approached us on, it's been 3 or 4 years now, on what they were looking at doing, and we thought it'd be a good idea at that time to really explore the options and see if this would fit in Winchester.
Actually, I think I had a constituent send me some information on InSync. And I followed up and went to the website and investigated and looked at some of the third-party evaluations of the InSync system. And I became convinced that it would be something that would probably enhance the transportation here, especially in the 29 corridor.
We thought that we would partner with Virginia DOT and see if this system would work for us. So that's how we got there.
Our pilot program actually included 113 intersections and 13 corridors. And they ranged from about 12 intersections per quarter down to about 6. So it was a decent range. And some of the corridors were in heavily urbanized type areas. Some of the corridors were a little bit more rural in nature, but still had traffic signals along them.
The organization I work for serves as the research division for the Virginia Department of Transportation. So when VDOT began their pilot test of InSync, they contacted us to perform an independent evaluation.
All 13 corridors, we did before and after studies. We did travel time runs, we did number of stops, we did delays, and then about halfway through the pilot program, we started collecting queue data. We also went back and we have 24/7 data that we've purchased from NREX. We use that. We set up Bluetooth readers on some of the corridors. So we've studied the corridors heavily, lots of data.
Anything that would help us move traffic.
We certainly have enough experience to know that the initial implementation and the way the corridors are operating much more efficiently than we could have timed them.
So I think our citizens are looking forward to it. I'm now off the board, so I'm a constituent citizen. I travel 29 a lot. And I'm looking forward to the system being installed and improving the traffic flow in that corridor.
I'll start. I'm Mike Clements. I am the Signal and Arterial Systems Program Manager at the Virginia Department of Transportation. With me today also is Mike Fontaine. Mike Fontaine is with the research arm of VDOT.
So we can see here we've got some very positive results. So this is just based off of one day going out about 20 floating car runs in each of these time periods.
After we implemented InSync, we saw most all of our corridors had very positive results. We saw decreases in travel time, so that the time that it would take you to travel either the full length of the corridor or just the partial piece of the corridor that you were traveling on. We saw a reduction in the number of stops along the corridor, meaning that as you're driving down the corridor before, you might stop 2 or 3 times depending on the length of the corridor. Now you were stopping either maybe just once or maybe not at all.
What we did is we looked at the number of stops before and after. About a little over 70% of the time we had a statistically significant reduction in the number of stops.
We found that InSync significantly improved operations on the corridors. We typically saw improvements in mainline travel time of around 3 to 5 miles an hour. We also saw improvements in travel time reliability. On the safety side, we looked at 47 intersections around the state where we had at least 1 to 2 years of data after InSync was activated. And on average, we saw a statistically significant reduction of about 17% in total crashes.
So this study, it's saying reduction in 17% of crashes. We are seeing 32% reduction in other locations where InSync has been installed. We're seeing study that shows that red light running has gone away after they install InSync.
Just to kind of wrap this up, we had quite positive results with the system, positive enough that we continue to keep installing it. Although we did realize that it's not necessarily something we're going to put on every corridor in Virginia. We did find that there were some areas where we think it's going to operate really well, exceptionally well. There's some areas where, I don't know, is that benefit-cost ratio really going to play a role?
So we saw very positive results both in operations and safety. We took that and translated it into a benefit cost analysis for the corridor. And we saw on average a B over C ratio of about over 8. So we saw in just a single year almost 8 times as many benefits being accrued on these corridors than the cost to install the system initially.
We definitely have seen an improvement in traffic flow, and it looks like we're going to see a significant reduction in our crashes. So I'd say, job well done, guys.
Everything we've been hearing has been positive about InSync in the 2 corridors that we have, which is always a good thing. A lot of times when you get less calls, generally means your system's running pretty good.
Citizens were very excited about it. I don't think I had a single negative comment from a citizen. And I had many people comment that they thought it was one of the better things we had tried to move forward in the county on the transportation side for years.
It's just unbelievable. I ride that way every day now.
Well, we definitely saw benefits on the corridors where we deployed, both in terms of moving people safer and faster. And so VDOT is continuing to deploy the system around the state.